In this video, we're going to be assembling and installing a Q Series R.O system. I hope this video guide, alongside your manual that came with your system, will help make the install go smoothly. I like to start with preparing the tank. The tank shutoff valve will be in the bottom of the box that the tank came in. Take the dust cover off and grab some Teflon tape. I like to put 5 rounds of Teflon tape on the threads to make a good seal. Once taped, install the tank shutoff. Hand tight is enough for the tank, you don't want to over tighten it as the valve can crack. Most tanks come with some air pressure in them, but it's normally not enough for proper operation. On the bottom of the tank, there is an air valve. It's the same type of valve that is on a car tire or bicycle tire. You can use a hand pump or an air compressor to refill the tank with air. First check to see where the current pressure is at on the tank. We want to have 7 pounds of pressure for normal operation. If the tank is below 7 psi, add a little bit of air. It doesn't take much to fill it up. If you go over 7 pounds, let some air out until you hit 7 pounds. We find 7 pounds of pressure gives you the best pressure at the tap with a good quantity of water in the tank. We'll now unpack the system and all the parts. The first pack is the lines. There will be 4 different lines in here. A packet of grease, drain saddle for wastewater, your first 3 filters, RO tap, and the main unit. Remove the main unit from the packaging and remove the 4 plugs in the system. The 4 plugs are located at the feed water inlet, drain outlet, tank line connection, and tap connection. To remove the plugs, push the inner ring of the fitting towards the fitting to release the plugs. Use this method when removing lines as well. Remove all the packaging off the filters and grease the O-rings with the provided silicone grease. You only need about a pea-size amount on them. The first filter to install is the sediment filter on the right side of the system. Put the label at 90 degrees and push into the system and twist clockwise to install. The system will be labeled with what filter goes where, just match up the labels. Now that the filters are in, we can hook up the lines to the system. I'm going to hook up the lines now, but sometimes it's easier to hook up the lines once it's under your countertop. The first line is the feed water on the right side of the system. Next will be the black drain line. It connects to the top right of the unit. On the back of the unit, there is a T where the tank line connects to. The last line is for the tap and is located on the left side of the system and comes off the last filter. With the system ready, we need to add the feed water valve. It is the T with both sides threaded, and it has a blue lever on it. For most installs, you will need to tighten the 2 pieces together before installing. Turn off the water going to your cold water tap. Once the water is turned off and you release the pressure from that line by opening the tap, you can disconnect the braided hose from your house's water pipe. Start by threading the braided line onto the T, but don't tighten it all the way. Now thread the T onto the household pipe. As you tighten the T onto this pipe, tighten the braided line as well, as it will loosen off as you spin the T onto the pipes. Once hand tight, tighten it slightly more with a pair of pliers. Now for the drain saddle. It comes in 2 parts and clamps onto your drain pipe. You can clamp it before or after your drain trap. Note, if you put the drain saddle before your drain trap, you may hear water running into the trap when the system is running. I like to put it after the trap if there is room. Evenly screw the 2 bolts onto the drain pipe. It is best to keep the drain saddle hole facing upwards a little bit. Once you tighten it down, we're going to need to drill a hole into the drain pipe. Make sure you take the compression nut off and keep that for a later step before you drill. Use a 1/4-inch drill bit and drill straight through the drain saddle hole and into the pipe. Time to drill the hole in your sink or countertop. If you have marble or granite countertops, you will need to have a professional company come and drill the holes, as they use special drill bits to make sure it doesn't crack. If you are drilling into a stainless steel sink or wood countertop, you can do it yourself. Place the cosmetic hole cover to decide where you're going to put your tap, and mark it with a marker. Make sure you check under the sink to see where the RO tap's going to come through, and make sure you're clear of the sink and any other lines or equipment that might be underneath. I find a step-up bit works best for drilling the hole through the countertop. If you don't have a step-up bit, you can use normal metal drill bits and you work your way through the sizes. Take your time with this process and work your way up to a 1/2 inch or 5/8 hole for your RO tap. To install the tap, we start with a small rubber gasket, then the metal cosmetic hole cover, large rubber gasket. This is all the parts that will go on top of the counter. Place the tap into the hole you've drilled. Your tap will swivel 360 degrees, and you can choose what side you would like the handle to be on. On the bottom side of the counter, you will need to install the hard plastic ring, lock washer, and the nut. Once hand tight, you will need to tighten down the nut. I use a 3/8 socket with an extension to reach underneath the sink and countertop, enough that the tap will not move if you try to twist it by hand. You can now hand screw on the tap adapter. We are now ready to install the system under your counter. I like to stick the tank in first into the back corner. The tank can stand upright or lie down, whichever works best for your situation. It can also be in the next cupboard over if that's where there is room. It's best if you hang your system on the cabinet wall, but you can leave it sitting on the filters if need be. If your system has a booster pump on it, you will need to hang it on the wall, as there is too much weight for the filter cartridges. We're almost done. We just need to hook up the lines now. We have the feed water coming off the T and going into the right side of your system with a 1/4-inch line. Next up is the drain line. Grab that compression nut that came off the drain saddle, push it onto the end of the drain line. Let the drain line stick out a little bit and screw it onto the drain saddle. The line that is coming off your last filter will be heading up to your tap that you just installed. Last but not least, hook up the tank to the T that is before the last filter on top of your system. With everything hooked up and ready to go, open the tap to allow air to come out of the system while you're pressuring it up. Slowly open the valve on the feed water T. Only open it about 1/3 of the way to allow water to start flowing in the system without pressuring up the system too fast. Allow 2 to 5 minutes for the system to fill up and start flowing water out of the tap. When the water starts coming out of the tap, there'll be a very little amount at this time. Once water starts coming out, you can open your feed water valve fully. Shut the tap and the tank off to allow the system to pressure up. Once you know there are no leaks on the system, open the tank valve and allow the tank to fill up with water. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour to fill. After an hour, open your tap and allow the tank to drain fully. This will give all your filters a good flush before use, including the membrane and your last carbon filter. You may get a little bit of black carbon coming out when you first open the tap. Now that the system's been installed and flushed, you are good to use your RO system. I hope this guide helped assist you in installing your RO system.